Peace, everybody. What's going on? Welcome back to another edition of Space Invaders TV here on YouTube. I'm Rashawn, aka Looker. Today is September the 9th, Thursday, September the 9th, 2021. Peace and blessing to all of you. Welcome back to my subscribers, and if you're new, welcome to Space Invaders TV. We're gonna get started, and what I want to talk about, as y'all see in the title right now, why are Americans being made felt as we're being peer pressured to take a drug? And when I say that, I'm meaning being vaccinated. Now, before I go in, I just want to say something here, and I'm gonna be reciting this off and on throughout this segment here. It is someone's human right if they want to take a drug, legal or illegal. That's your prerogative. That's your right. Now, we understand what's going on with the pandemic, and so then you have things into play where they want, you need to wear a mask. I'm all for that, to wearing a mask. Hey, if we gotta wear a mask, we wear a mask. I'm not debating that or what have you. Whether it's working or not working, I believe if you're keeping your distance, among from folks, avoiding many large gatherings and taking precaution at this time and just being responsible, just because the restrictions are loose now, and they kind of try to get things back to normal, well, the activity wise anyway. This thing is still going on, so you have to be responsible and mindful when you are stepping out and going out in public and going and being in gatherings, going to functions. But I don't condone being or having a finger pointed at folks for not taking a vaccine. You have the flu virus, and many people die from that every year. It's just now that the COVID has been the main player on the stage. You haven't, it's like the flu season has took the back seat. You haven't heard anybody catching the flu. None last year. We never heard none in 2020. We didn't hear about anybody. It was all COVID. Okay? They didn't talk about nobody catching the flu. Everybody, it was like damn near everybody who passed away, it was from COVID. I have my beliefs and disbeliefs. One thing I do know, out of all of my disbeliefs or what have you, is there is something, and we have to be mindful of that. Whether it's something else and they threw a name on it, is to call it COVID. All we know as American people, we were blindsided from this whole thing. We didn't know anything. But then you have those, if you may have some friends that you, or family members that you may talk to, and talk about the COVID with and the symptoms, and you think back, and then you might say, because I have family members and stuff, and talking about it, and friends, and you think back and they're like, man, those symptoms, before the government, before they actually made it national, went national with it, I had those same side effects. My stomach was kind of queasy. I felt a certain way. I felt lightheaded. I was just, I was out of it. I felt like I was just beat up. Like it wasn't the flu, but so you know, some people had it and didn't even know they had it. Before it went national, and then we were so much blindsided by it, and nobody knew really what the heck was going on. That at the beginning, everybody remember in 2020 when they started saying around late February 2020, when they started saying, late March or early March or late February, early March of 2020, when they started saying, oh, yeah, if you may have like diarrhea, your stomach may be upset. That was the signs. If you go back and remember, or go pull up some old footage or whatever from the beginning of not the beginning of 2020, but late February, early March of 2020, when it really start moving around the country. That was what the media was running with, and they were saying that those were known to be the side effects. So then what did you have happen? You had everyone run to the store, and it was getting sanitizer, wiped out all the sanitizer, all the tissue and everything. Y'all know the drill. All of that was wiped out when 30 just weeks or days before anybody heard and knew what COVID really was. The stores around the country were fully stocked with those items that went, like, we went a couple of months without actually seeing the shelves stocked with them again, because everyone had fully bum rush stores and was snatching that stuff off the shelves. Not just grocery stores. You talking about your dollar stores and everything of that nature. Was anybody who had those items was snatching it off the shelves. So Americans were hit from the blind side with something. We didn't know anything about it. By the time we really knew what it was already kicking the front door down, and it started to move around like a wildflower, and a wildfire, I should say. And so now we have what I feel as an American. You have a government that is like peer pressuring people to take a drug. They're constantly forcing and talking about, you have the president now, he's we need to take it. It's once again, it's your human right if you want to take a drug. Why do we have the government blaming American people now, where this was already, our front door was kicked down by this, whatever this thing is, they classified as COVID, whatever this thing is, our front door of this country was kicked down with this thing, and you blaming now the unvaccinated for the resurgence of this thing? That's a smack in the face to the American people. When yet you have this Delta strand that has nothing to do, that's not us. None of this was us, supposedly. So you're gonna blame American people for a resurgence of something that, and not only that, you're gonna blame the people, but the government has to take a good look at themselves in the mirror, and whether we can't blame the president, that's the sitting president now, which is Biden. You can't blame him, but America has to take the top government has to take a step back and a look at themselves in the mirror, and should have warned the American people about this thing. We should have been forewarned about this thing. We should have been prepped about this thing. You have to take a look at yourself. You know, um, America, and when I say that, I mean those in top government. And when I say that, I mean you have to step back and you have to think about, okay, so why didn't we just stay? Why didn't you just keep the country on a curfew level? Why was airplanes allowed to consistently keep flying, or the airports continue to stay open when the country was in quarantine? Why, when you loosened the ban, on being out and curfews and things, why were people allowed to fly around the country? Where the hell were they going? People were just flying for the hell of it because the prices were cheap. Why? Well, it was no activity really going on around the country. Even when the government lifted the ban, you know, uh, there was still really nothing. It was still a curfew put in place though. Then you had states, just not even acknowledging the ban and open back up wide, and was having gatherings and things of that nature, and their numbers were spiking. You know, if we really want to stop something, you have to stop it. You know, um, no matter if business owners are complaining, whatever. If there's no money to be made, if the masses aren't making money, then how are you gonna make money? But we can go on and on that, because that's nothing but American greed. You see, people can see that people were in distress, and there were folks still standing with their hand out and still trying to get something from a well that was drying up. Unbelievable. But that's American greed. And I ain't gonna go down that road. But all of this right here, the same country that was pushing say no to drugs in the 80s is now, in the year 2021, September to be exact, 2021, is pushing a drug and making people feel shame for not, or trying to blame people for the resurgence of something that no one had anything to do, that the people of this country didn't have anything to do with. You want to shame the people who haven't got vaccinated, knowing that there are people that, for religious reasons, they don't take drugs, and then there's other people they just don't believe in that. And then number three, people ain't trusting it. They didn't know what was in it. They didn't know, the country didn't know where this thing was coming from. They first said the side effects was one thing, if you notice this, and then it went from, how did we go from something being, you may feel like you have, you're gonna feel like you're gonna always, your stomach's gonna be upset. You're gonna have to relieve yourself, move your bowels. It's gonna be like an upset stomach, like you have like a stomach virus. How we move from that to it being to then being a respiratory issue. It went from the lower here, the stomach, to then coming here and being a respiratory issue. So then it goes from there. So, you get people in the uproar, people that deal with different issues, where the anxieties and things of that nature. You get those folks really out of whack, and then you just get people and you freak people out. People were freaked out about this whole thing, and On top of that, their jobs may have been shutting down, and for a while, funding didn't kick right in for certain things. So then you had people really stressing about that, and how are they gonna keep food on the table, the roof over their head, and the basic hierarchy of needs were endangered. Food and shelter was in danger. Two of the hierarchy of needs. So, and so then we go in today, you're wondering why people aren't going back to work and this and that. Well, you gave up these funds here so people felt comfortable, like, okay, well, I can just stay home and let me see how this thing works out. Let me see how this pans out. So people stayed home. They collected their benefits. Some people may have been their first time ever in life being able to sit still and be home. And they got to learn more about their family, more about themselves, and really started to put things in perspective. Some people may have just sat back, and it was a time for them to reevaluate their entire life, and where they were going and what's going on. That's the mindset for responsible folks. Okay, that's the mindset of responsible folks. That's what they're thinking, and their sentiments may have been. So then, then next thing you know, they play with the funds. You want to snatch the funds back. You're not wanting to reinstate unemployment benefits and things of that nature. Meanwhile, the country is still in an uproar. The country's still going through this COVID. I mean, still right now today. I mean, whoever said it was over? But wasn't it, I'm going back and forth here, but wasn't it late winter, early spring of 2021 when Biden was telling the American people that they were hitting their targets with the vaccinations and everything. They were getting them out there. They were hitting their targets. People were getting vaccinated. He was coming on and thanking and, applauding the American people that were getting vaccinated, and also spoke about not shaming those who weren't and not shaming those who are vaccinated. You know what I'm saying? But I guess it wasn't until late spring when states turned around and told the federal government, hey, y'all stop sending the vaccines. The people are not showing up to take them like that. I mean, it slowed down. If y'all remember this, I'm not just talking, I'm talking off the dome, because just like you guys, I lived through this and I paid attention. I didn't let it consume me, but I would tap in at least once a week, and see what was the updates, what was the talk, what was the change, what was the turning points, what was changing, what was happening. I would tap in at least once a week, because I couldn't let that, every day and day in and day out, especially, at the top of the whole COVID pandemic. I couldn't let it take hold of my mind and everything. So I'm able to recite off the top. I mean, I got my notes here like I always keep notes with me so I can kind of stay on track with you guys. But so I feel like when the states, late spring, if y'all remember, when the states told the federal government, hey, look, y'all can slow up on these vaccines. The people are not coming out to take it. We got them. We got too many just sitting around here. You remember it said, they had to be refrigerated. And I think, it had to be at a certain point where it had to keep. It had to be at a certain temperature and everything of that nature. And then they were just flooding the states with it, I guess. And because Biden was trying to reach his number. Because if you remember, now Biden said this in one of his addresses to the nation. He said, yeah, by the 4th of July, if we stay on track and we keep getting vaccinated, we'll all be able to enjoy our families. we can sit down and we can have a barbecue with our families. So that was their target. They were trying to, they wanted to celebrate the nation's birthday, right? They wanted to say the independence of the 4th of July. They want to celebrate the nation's Independence Day, right? And then it seemed like after the 4th of July, then what we find out. Everything was all good up until July the 4th. Everything was good, but then a couple of days after the 4th of July, we didn't hear about any numbers, no spike or anything like that. We weren't having it. All of a sudden, there's a new variant coming. There's a new variant coming. Now we heard that there's a new variant, so okay, that's what we heard. The next thing you know, a week after that, oh, it's here. So it's like, okay, so my thought was, okay, so you didn't get the people that you thought that was gonna come out. It slowed up for you. So I felt like, okay, so now let's try to intimidate the people. Let's try to pump more fear in, and let's try to see if we can shame them too into taking the vaccine. It's not a good look, man. The American people aren't stupid, Even if we could go back right now for a minute. Now, March of 2020, okay? COVID, the numbers were rising. Like, the numbers were on the rise at this point. They're keeping a clock of, on news stations, on every major media outlet. They're keeping a tally of the rate around the nation, around the globe. Dr. Fauci comes on to how can I say? He comes on to a national syndicate show called The Breakfast Club on Power 105 in New York. Okay? It's called The Breakfast Club. They come on every morning on Power 105 in New York. Right? You can go to YouTube, here on YouTube, and you can look this up. Every time I give you guys any information, unless they took it down, you can still probably Google it. Okay? Dr. Fauci, you could type in Dr. Fauci at The Breakfast Club, at Power 105, The Breakfast Club. Dr. Fauci at Power 105, The Breakfast Club. Type that into YouTube or Google it. He was on that station that morning because I listen to them every morning while I'm working. Okay? Every morning. They come on 6 in the morning. They go off by 10 a.m., I believe. Yes. I don't watch them all the way up until, I don't listen to them, I should say, all the way up until that time. I may stop listening about 9. So they may end from 6 to 10, okay? Now, Fauci came on there. I can't give you the exact time, the exact hour, but it was in their block. He came on during their segment. And they asked him about the vaccine and how fast would they be able to get it. Because you remember at this time, Trump is in office. So Trump is telling like, oh yeah, we can get the vaccine, we can get it, we're going to get that immediately, we can have that in a couple of weeks. It was all a lie. And I believe that's when a point, let me finish. So Fauci says to them, they said, well, how fast do you think? He said, it will be 18 months from now, which was, as I told you, this was in March of 2020. He was on that station. I don't remember the exact date, but you can Google it. And he told them it'll be 18 months from now, and then still we will have to do a trial. So it could be even longer, So he said that, and he didn't only say it there. He went to another media outlet. I don't want to say, but he went to another media outlet as well. because I had seen the headline on it. So that day, that one specific day, March of 2021, he had run around doing media runs, and he said the same thing. Okay, he was saying the same thing, and I want to saying that it will be 18 months from that moment in March before there will even be the first wave of the vaccine. Okay, I believe at that moment that's when him and Trump fell out, when Fauci and Trump fell out, because he said something and he was going against what Trump was saying, and Trump was trying to make it like, you know. And then this was later on, then Trump was like just being a jerk and telling people to drink bleach. You know, this was all in that same, and around in that same time. By the time that Trump was telling people they could drink bleach and stuff, this could have been 90 days after Fauci said it would be 18 months. But him, and then there was a point where people thought that him and Fauci was on the outs, and then you seen Fauci fall back. Then you seen it where like Trump was kind of seeming like he was bullying Fauci, and Fauci would be quiet and be in the back. Because I think at that point, when he kind of undermined Trump, I feel Trump probably checked him and put him in his place like, hey, don't you ever disrespect me on national TV, and I'm saying something to the American people and you go around and... But Fauci is the quote unquote the doctor. So we'll go on. I want to lose my spot, so bear with me, y'all. So now, it's September of 2021, okay? And we have... So let me, before I start there, so you think about it. It wouldn't be till about now when you would have seen the first wave of the vaccine. It wouldn't be till about now. But they pushed it. They was pushing this thing early. So people aren't stupid. People just, you know, American people aren't stupid. They do something is fishy. People just not trusting that. And you have to be real. We got to be real. Like, people don't trust the government like that. So let me move forward. So now, it's 2021. And they're now forcing their employers, because the government know, like, they can't really, like, force you. They can't really, like, make the American people take a drug. So now they're trying to push the weight on the employers now to say, hey, you make your people do this. Now, I feel you with the, you want to let people get tested. That still should be somebody's right, that if they want to go get tested. But see, you're tagging and you're trying to hit their pockets now. And saying, oh, we're going to hit their employers. And then their employers are making. But then what you're doing is, the same way they're crying wolf in the healthcare about having a shortage of nurses, you're going to force the hand of that, and then you're going to really have a problem with your economy. If you keep on, it's going to really be a problem with the economy if you're going to keep trying to test the folks and play with people like that. Now, I understand people in hospitality and the healthcare industry, you have to, you know, you're working in sensitive environments, and you want to be safe, you know what I mean? And they have to, you know, they should, you know, understand that. And then I understand on the flip side, you know, nurses and stuff like, hey, no, because they don't know what's in it. And then they're not trying to take something that they know that you guys rushed, you know? Like, come on, man. Like, come on, man. Now, you know, like I said, I'm a fair person. Wearing a mask and everything, yes. Going business, I think you should wear masks. You should wear masks everywhere. I think, yes, you should. If that's the least, that's what should be done. But when you're talking about a drug and somebody putting something in their body, if they don't know what it's going to do to them. I read something about how later on it will cause what's inside of the vaccine will cause internal bleedings. I read that. It may not happen right then and there. It can happen down the line. But to actually blame people as well for the unvaccinated, for the spike of the COVID, is dead wrong. When, let's be clear, when you say late in July, after the 4th of July, after you got your festivities over, then you come with, hey, there's a new variant coming. You never said the spike in COVID was coming back, but it was a new variant. Then all of a sudden, it just moved from that variant to then, okay, the spike is back again. We have a spike in the COVID. But it's just amazing to me. But folks continued, it was funny how the FAA, you never stopped them. They never grounded their planes. They was continuously able to and ready to fly them planes around the country, even when the country was on lockdown. And then afterwards, when you lifted the ban, people were flying around the country. And I'm like, where the hell are they going if most of the country is still kind of, certain states didn't ease up, even when the federal government eased the restrictions, still certain states didn't. So I'm like, where's people going? People were going down to Florida, Miami, going to Atlanta, and things of that nature. It's just amazing to me, man. That's all. If we want to stop something, if we want to control something and stop it, let's do it. Don't be half-assed with it. And then you want to blame the American people for something that they didn't have anything to do with, and nobody quite didn't understand it. And then you can't blame some folks, but you can't blame some folks that's really not believing what's going on. And then they seen a president that was walking around in photos, and you seen him. They catching him without his mask on. They catching his constituents. They catching people around him, period, without wearing a mask. But then they're talking about you should stay safe and keeping your distance from this. And it's like people are looking like, what? But you guys are, it's just amazing to me. Now, yes, it's up to the person. Now, the people have to be responsible as well, and you have to watch where you're going, as I said earlier. Be mindful of that and remembering that you have family as well. Regardless of what our beliefs are, if we believe what this thing is or not, just know that it is something going on. What it is, we don't know. They put a name on it. That's all we know, and it's COVID. What that thing really is, we don't know. Because we were told it was first something that would be intestinal, and then it went after a while from that to a respiratory thing, and then it went from the respiratory to, some people with underlying issues, health issues, they'll be the ones who will really get. So it's like, when people are hearing these things and people aren't believing these things, it's kind of hard if you don't know what it is. If you're trying to tell the people something and you don't know what it is, and you're trying to demand something of the people, and then they're looking like, you're fucking lying, because you don't know what it is yourself. And then you got the countries playing ping pong with it. They're blaming this country's pointing at that one. That country's like, you're a damn lie. We never had this. You had it. You people came over to our country. So you had all of these things going on. And meanwhile, American people are sitting back watching like, whoa, So, but I'm going to end it like this. But we have pharmacies that is stuff that's not approved by the FDA. But this vaccine got approved, but it's been stuff sitting on the pharmacy shelves for years and years before some of us was even born, that still isn't approved by the FDA.